welcome to the Free Farm Giveaway Podcast. Just kidding. Welcome to Lessons from the Woodlot. We're trying to emphasize that to you guys because we are giving away a free farm. We had a great question this week. Gentleman's like, hey, I don't think I've seen the day you're giving the farm away. It's going to be next September before opening day of the hunting season in the state in which the farm's located. I have to make sure I pick my words and not give away the secret. The second question we get often is, where's the farm at? Well, our whole thought process about this was to really try to find a farm in different states. And so this year's state we picked, the only clue we've given away thus far is that it's over-the-counter state, meaning you can go to that counter and purchase a tag over the counter. You won't have to go through a draw period. So we know Iowa's not the giveaway state this year.
Right.
So again, wanted to have that farm for you guys. Turnkey, ready to go October 1st. You win the farm. You go into the state. You go into a local sport shop and you can buy your tag. And the farm is literally turnkey, ready for you to go hunt it. The box blinds will be in place, blind. And the Millennium, I know we had, I think Nathan was out there and had some really good video.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe it was a buck dogging a doe or something. Yeah. Was that? Yeah. So again, we have some friends of ours that are not eligible to win the farm, and they know where it is, and they're actually hunting it for us to give us some intel on what they're seeing. I know there's a really nice 10-point on that farm. It's probably a 3-year-old 10-point in the 140s. It's a really nice deer. I mean, most people would be happy to see that in their home state. I was showing Jake some of our 5-year-olds from Maryland, and I mean it's a pretty
different ball game.
It's a pretty disgusting thing. So, and I'm not saying Maryland doesn't get big deer, but overall, we shot 2 deer in 10 years on our farm, and we had food, we had everything for them. And anyway, long story short, just different deer herds, different genetics. So, again, this farm is in a state that has some good genes, so that'll be our second. Our second gift for finding out where the farm is. So, and then we knew the web sleuths would be, trying to digress, looking at the trees and all these things. And so we did the best we could to hide most of that. But at this point, we feel fairly certain there are some people that are starting to kind of hone in on where this farm is and where it is not. So, but again, guys, it can be Kentucky as easy as it could be Georgia. It could be Mississippi, Alabama. I mean, we really want to promote hunting in not just a state. We want to promote hunting as a whole for a multitude of reasons. One, it's a passion we both love and we share that we love that. And we really want to empower that next generation going forward. And we kind of think along the lines that as hunters, we spend billions of dollars with companies. Think Cabela's, Bass Pro Shop, Shields, you name it. Think about the gear you buy, the shoes, the boots, the clothing, archery equipment, arrows, you just name it, and as hunters, we have an effect. I mean, I've moved into a hotel in Bloomfield, which has been very exciting, as you guys can imagine, but you
said this in a and I'm sorry,
Sure.
I don't mean to cut you off, but the reason though that you moved into a hotel.
Sure.
You have the house here, completely renovated, beautiful house, here
right.
on the river in by Burlington. But where our particular farm is, it's a couple hour drive.
Absolutely.
So does one want to get up those couple hours early, drive that couple hours, make the stand before daylight, hunt all day? I'm sorry,
yeah.
but it's like driving, in my opinion,
mm-hmm.
because you're laser focused, because
right.
and in your case, you've been hunting a world-class deer,
mm-hmm.
so your focus, you're focused on your task all day. Yes. And a lot of people don't understand how mentally taxing that is, right. Because we talked about this just the other day when you was at the hotel. You're like, dude, I'm exhausted when I come home, to the home. My home away from home.
The cobblestone
The cobblestone is. But what we're doing here is that you're just trying to provide yourself the best opportunity to do it. So rest is key, you know.
100%.
And you'd lose 4 hours of that driving back and
Every
forth
day.
every day.
Yeah.
You know, or
And it was really
hey,
really your idea. I mean, Mark's like, this is what I do. So I'm like, well, shit. I mean, that made all the sense in the world because, you know, you're up at 4.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
already
Your eyes are open till 5:30. Like, you know, you're looking for the boogeyman to get you or something. You know what I mean? Like you're looking in the woods and you're trying to stay attentive. And then by the time that's done, I get out, I get in the truck, I get all the stuff, all of my gear back in the boxes, and then I head back and I grab something to eat. And if it's 7 o'clock, I've failed my job.
We're
I wanna
taxed.
eat,
It's
and
time for bed.
Right.
It's time for bed.
Exactly.
You know, the reason I brought up the driving,
Sure.
the way I say it's like driving is you know, you have to be laser focused. You don't know about other people driving, whatever. So your attention is peaked the entire time that drive's done. So
Yeah.
you go do a 12 or whatever hour drive. You're just, at me anyway, I'm exhausted, you know. And you're like, well, hell, I really didn't do much today, but you did. Mentally, you was on task nonstop without break, if
Right.
you will, that
Right.
whole time. And for me, the deer hunting seems to be the exact same thing. When you're in a stand, you're on a blind, and your attention's focused the entire time. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, that's taxing. And the only reason I brought that up is you had said it the other day, and you're like, well, I live in a hotel, and you know how people get.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what? I thought you lived in Iowa, or I thought you whatever. Yeah, you do. You have a house there. You know, whatever. But that particular farm's a couple hours away.
Yeah.
You know, and
Oh,
with
yeah.
that particular
It's
farm
2
being a
hours,
couple
no matter
hours
what
away,
way you cut it.
you know,
Yeah.
you're like, man, do I drive 4 hours a day?
Right.
Or do I just get a hotel to where I can get meaningful sleep and rest and so on and so forth?
Yeah.
That way I can be a better hunter, more attentive every day, so on and so forth. And it's just one of the many, what should we say, sacrifices that we make chasing these wonderful animals. So
and it gave me the opportunity too, you know, in fairness to Mark, when he says that he does something, I mean it made sense to me. We try to mimic it, but like the neighbor the other night who owns, you know, thousands of acres around us, I would have just not had time to talk to him. Because I was like, I got to eat. I got to, you know, and if I had a 2 hour drive back to Burlington and a 2 hour drive back the next day, it'd be insane. So long story short, you know, it gives you some ability to adjust your schedule accordingly by not driving that 4 hours. And I mean, I have a kick-ass truck from Victory Chevrolet. I've got Super Cruise in it. It'll drive me pretty much to and from the, you know, but even so, you have to be awake and attentive in the stand. And so one thing that I've always done in hunting and all day sits is typically between 10 and 10:45, I take a nap. And I would take my neck gaiter, pull it up to my eyes, take my hat, pull it down over my eyes, and I would put my phone on my chest and, you know, take my safety strap tight so I could lean forward about 2 inches, and I'd pull that thing down, and I'd take a 45-minute nap in the stand. But in the holes that I'm in now, there's no rest, man. You're constantly looking because we're tight to that bedding area, and then, you know, we had one go by about 60 miles an hour chasing a doe, you know, and it's just when that happens, it sets in the panic of like the whole time you're looking around like, you know, anyhow. So, but you know, in Bloomfield at the hotel, it was inundated with hunters, and the Orange Army descended upon Missouri. And they are in force. These guys they were all about it. I guess it gets like this park or whatever. Anyways, pretty cool story of these guys, and they were hunting. So good luck to them. And
that particular hotel is, you know, Bloomfield is what, 10 miles from the Missouri border, you know. So people coming in, collapsing in on their own property or public ground or whatever, you know. I mean, just, you know, she filled up.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that's the thing. I mean, if you think, you know, and listen, you know, to a lot of people, we haven't really got to kind of dive into Iowa specifics, but excuse me, this particular county in Iowa has got a ton of cattle. Yeah. And I mean a shit ton of cattle. I'm like I love it there. Like I love the people. I love the cattlemen. I mean, obviously I raise cattle, so We have something in common, but I am absolutely stunned, and I'm sure people at home would not know this. But the majority of the people I meet in the state of Iowa, they do not hunt deer.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is just mind numbing. The number of geese, like you couldn't, I'm sorry, geese hunters, but you couldn't pay me to go geese hunting. I don't know. It doesn't sound fun. It doesn't pique my interest. And I'm not trying to diss geese hunting because I'm letting guys geese hunt on my land. I'm like, my plumber,
Yeah.
he was like, man, I'm all about geese. I'm like, you what? He's like, I'm all about geese. I'll plumb your whole house if you let me hunt this farm. I'm like, okay.
Deal.
For geese. Sure.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to me how many people here, I think, just get large buck fatigue. And they're like, yeah, little Johnny, 10-year-old, shot his first deer. It's a 176-inch booner. And you're like, oh my God. And I think they just kind of wear them out. They're just used to seeing them. So that to me is the reason why I love Iowa. And I just think that it's the greatest state in the country. And that's why I chose to move here, last year. So with that kind of being said, we wanted to tell you guys, remember, go to YouTube. All you got to do is subscribe on the YouTube channel and you're in to win the farm. We're giving it away next September before hunting season. We don't have a definitive date for it, but I assure you it'll be prior to September the 30th because we want you to have time to be able to make plans. If you're from another state, we don't, this is open to any resident in the United States. So you could be from California, you could be from Florida, you could be from New York, and wherever that state is you win the farm in, you have it there. So we're really excited about that. So as we move forward, today's topic, we're going to do a little bit of a change up. And we're just, guys, we're watching analytics. We're very fortunate. YouTube gives us very, very good analytics. And we're getting to kind of the tap out point is around 30 minutes. So we're going to try to do our best to kind of keep these episodes kind of short and kind of sweet and quick hit. So with that being said, we would like to go ahead and kick today's episode off. And today what we're trying to do is bring you information that's applicable to the season that we're in. And so let's have a great conversation today about post-rut. Mark, what are your thoughts on tactics and where do we need to be putting our mind right now with these deer coming out of the rut?
Okay, so and to me this is a great subject, and it's one that is near and dear to both of our hearts yet because post rut and / post hunting fatigue almost goes hand in hand, and the problem is that. And what I mean by post-hunting fatigue or post-rut hunting fatigue is, you get into that November 15th, November 20th range and you've been grinding it. You've been grinding. It's all day sits. Mm-hmm. It's peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. we all know the deal. I've just talked to Zach. He's got 7 every time he goes to the woods.
Yes.
But that is only one part of his 4-course meal he has with him. It's the 7 peanut butter jelly sandwiches.
The only hunter I know that needs an e-bike to carry his food to the stand.
The extra trip. He has to take 2 trips, and then the first one is carrying groceries.
Grocery cart.
but and doesn't have 5% body fat.
He's not hungry.
It is not. It's not fair. But anyway, that being said, I'm certain that's with effort. But all of that being said, you got to understand the mental state of A, the deer, and B, the person, the hunter. Mm-hmm. Because if you've been grinding it out right now, when you're just when you get into that lockdown phase, and it's very broad to say a blanket time frame, but usually for us in that November 8th to 10th through 17th, 18th, that time frame, there's so many does that are in heat. Your mature buck, the pictures, the cameras, your sightings, everything just drops off the map. It's literally why I do not like the rut. The rut in its definition is not my favorite at all. The deer you're after, he might literally be 2 miles away, and he might be bedded down with a doe that's in heat up there. Mm-hmm. So you just spent, let's say it gets daylight at legal hunting at whatever, 6:30, whatever the number is, to 5:30. So you just spent 11 hours in a tree to hunt a deer that is 2 miles away, bedded down with the doe for the next 3 days. And you just did it times 3.
Yes.
Yeah, you see where I'm going with that?
100%.
And you had less than a 0% chance of shooting that deer. Because he's simply not leaving her. She isn't local to there. She isn't making walks. She isn't going on Australian walkabouts or nothing. I mean, she's pretty 40 to 60 acres, and that's kind of her thing, you know. So he is going to be inside that, or he might shove her out into a place out away from every other buck, trying to fend off the amount of other potential suitors for her, so he gets her out away from things. All of that being said, we are, and I'm putting myself in that, mentally exhausted, you know, because it's been a grind to this point. But here's the light at the end of that tunnel. When you get to that back side of where the bulk of all of those does are in heat or whatever, now all of a sudden he can't just stand up, stretch his legs, walk 100 yards, intimidate some snot-nosed 2-year-old out of the doe he has and lay back down with her and not really go anywhere, because that is what you're dealing with. There's so many does in heat that even when he cycles off one, he literally has to go not very far. And he's going to obtain another one. You know, that's just how it works. I'm sorry. It's a survival of the fittest type scenario. If he is the king on the property, guess what? Or the area, or one of the alphas in that area, it doesn't take him very long to get another one, because there's so many. Target of opportunity is everywhere. So when you're grinding it out in those stands and you're not seeing anything, this is the Lord's design, if you will. Right now, all of you, or not all, but a vast majority of your does are in heat, and he's just simply not going anywhere. The problem with that, and the reason we have to grind it, is we don't know. And each particular farm is situational. How many of those does are in heat? Have the bulk of those does cycled out? And we have no idea of knowing when that is. So he is going to spend 3 or 4 days, roughly 3 days, with a doe, get up, and then go looking. Now, if we have to be in place when he goes looking, you know, we can't, unfortunately, get up in the morning, look at all your cameras, and be like, man, there's no deer. There's no deer moving. I'm just not going to go to the stand. That's not how this works. Unfortunately, if you have a target and you're trying to, or just trying to kill a mature deer, and you're trying to do that, you have to be in place when he decides, okay, she's cycled out. It's time to go for my walkabout, you know. Now, the good side, or the bright side of this, is on the back side of when the bulk of those done. Just think about if you only got to play the male and female game 3 weeks a year or so, you know, you're probably going to grind pretty hard. I'm just saying that's male nature. He's going to grind pretty hard. So when he has all of those all of the time, life is great. But when the bulk of those start cycling out, now he's used to having that female partnership, and now he is frantic. Now he's going to respond to calls better. He's going to be on the move. He's going to daylight walk all the time. The post-rut phase is some of my favorite, because you're going to get all of those bucks that are used to having does and not having a problem. Now all of a sudden, they're a lot more sparse to find, and a lot more daylight walking takes place. Now, here's the problem. That's real hardcore, usually for about 8 to 10 days or so. And then it seems like you have this secondary dead space. It's like they're transitioning off of the rut. It's almost like, hey, I need to go sleep for 4 days before I do anything else. Just reset the batteries. And then it's all about calories, you know, but that's for a little bit later podcast. But so going into the post-rut phase for me, you know, it's very easy to be mentally busted down, and that's you know, and this is me telling on myself, but you know, the husbandly duties are failing, the fatherly duties are failing, you know, just the general man in the house type thing. When I say failing, they've just been lacking, because we're daylight to dark in a tree every day, you know, or 2 hours away or many hours away from where we're from. If you are a non-resident hunting on your property or hunting property outside your state, you're removed from the home altogether.
Sure.
So there is a family dynamic that suffers. There is a mental dynamic that plays a role. And if anybody says that they haven't felt those pressures or pressures from family, pressures from things not working out right, and there's some years that it seems like every decision I make is a wrong one. I choose A and it's B. I choose B and it's A, and so on and so forth. Right. And then there are years that seems like every decision I make is the right one. Just I lay out the plan, do the things, do everything I need to do, execute it. I think they should do this, and then you go do it, and it's exactly what they do. And it just seems like every decision you make is the right one. You have to take your ebbs with your flows, though.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. We can do everything that we are in control of to up our odds to making that happen.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the good Lord has to make the decision to walk past us while we're in that tree.
Right.
Seat time, unfortunately, is your number one tool on top of smart decision making, I guess. So with that being said, my particular personal tactics here now, more so in my opinion than any, is I'm getting in those funnels that attach bedding areas, doe bedding areas. Because you again you have to think about his mental state. His mental state is, I'm used to having doe companionship. I don't get it, but a very small, minute amount of time every year. I have been getting that female companionship for the last couple weeks.
There's got to be another one.
There has to be enough. I have to find this. So frantic mode happens, and he is, I'm not saying that he's frantic or panic, but it's almost like he is in panic mode looking for that last available doe or the one that he just knows has got to be there. Right. So he's going to go doe bedding area to doe bedding area to doe bedding area to doe bedding area. This is where whenever I'm always talking about rut or type cruising type, this is that pre-rut, post-rut type stand position, is I'm trying to key in on things where he's going to use to hide him from through corridors from bedding area to bedding area. It is some of the best hunting of the year. Yeah. So the highlight here is some of the best hunting is just around the corner. And I mean just around the corner. Today is November 18th?
I think.
It could be any minute that your particular farm, and I can't stress this enough, because we might have 5 farms, whatever. 4 of them could be dead as it gets, and you got one that's just pandemonium, and you're like, what is going on over there?
Right.
Early on, that could be your first doe popped in on that one.
Right.
Or it could be now the bulk of the does are cycled out on that particular farm, and now all of a sudden you're having that just nonstop looking. You're getting pictures, and their mouth are open, and they're like they're getting as much air in their lungs as they can, because they are just absolutely walking hardcore, running themselves ragged.
Yeah.
So I think that it's very easy to get down and frustrated. Lord knows I've been in that this year. I mean, we all have. It is. But I always say, because our mental strength is our best thing. Confidence in your bow is everything.
Yeah.
Confidence in your equipment, confidence in your stand, confidence in your program.
Right.
It all plays a role, because the moment, the analogy I'll use is if you play baseball, you go step up to the plate. If you're stepping up to the plate, and in your mind, it is, gosh, that guy's got a wicked curveball, and his fastball's got movement.
Oh yeah.
You have already mentally
defeated.
Gotten out. You're already out. The formalities are just coming next, but
right.
You're already out.
Right.
But that guy that walks up, goes through his pre-at-bat, procedure, and pulls that bat up and gets into his stance, and he's like, bring me that 100-mile-an-hour heat and watch what happens with it. That guy right there is a problem.
Right.
His mental state is there. Your shit don't bother me. You bring that, and that's what's going to watch what happens.
Yeah.
And that kind of mentality, I believe that we got to take to the field right now. We have to overcome the doubts and all of that, because that plays a huge role. I mean, this year, the deer eyes after it never showed up. I mean, those type of things, and then you're on this crash out mode. You're like, well, what am I going to do? So you just have to audible and go on about. So I ended up 4.5 hours away and knocking on doors, but it worked out.
Right.
And all of that being said, everybody has to just kind of set back and or at least for me, I say everybody, but for me in my own personal life, about this time, it's almost like, I always say this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be fun. Yeah. We're supposed to have a good time, and it's very easy, if one hasn't been successful yet, to get into that almost depressed mode, and again, this is supposed to be fun, but there is all kinds of pulling dynamics,
Yeah. And the winds this year, I still think there's something aloft with the way that the fronts have come through. The pressure is not where we need it to be. A lot of these cold fronts are coming through with 29.96, and if you haven't heard us talk about it, I mean, we have a deer that will not get on his feet unless it's 30.19 with a northwest wind. We have him 3 years of history with him. He will not do it. And
I know that sounds crazy, but we have yet to ever have proof that he will walk outside of that.
Not one picture in 3 years.
Ever.
In 3 years.
It's pretty amazing.
So he wants that pressure to be rising, and he needs it above 30.1. Like, I went at 30.16, and we talked about this, and he didn't show. And I'm like, what the hell? And then called Jake, and he's like, yeah, the pressure is like 29.96. I'm like, what? It's what? I'm like, man, we got a 25-degree drop in temperature. Like, last year, every single one of those was 30.3, 30.28, 30.4. But this year, the way that that polar vortex is broken up, I mean, it's about to be cold. And I mean, people are about to feel real cold, and so are the animals. But my point is only, yesterday in the stand, you go into a stand, Mark's belief of you don't have cell phone reception, and then you find where big deer live is 100% right. One of the downfalls is when you're in the stand, you have to use your body to be your wind indicator, because the winds this year, I mean, some of them, I look at the National Weather Service and I'm like, are you just screwing with me? Are you just pissing with me? Like, how the hell does the wind go from south to north to southeast to west? Like, it looks like some kind of like alien braille on some of these days. And you're like, okay, so I've got 8 wind shifts today to contend with. This is going to be an awesome day to sit all day, but you got to sit all day. And you got, and I know last night I shared with you at 4:38, exactly 4:38, the woods came alive, and I'm like, evacuate. I mean, I threw my backpack out of the stand and all but ran out of the tree, because, we hunt this big bottom, and the wind was in my face, and then all of a sudden, or say the wind was on the left side, and all of a sudden that big gust would go by, and you can hear them. You hear the trees and everything, and then I'd feel the wind come the opposite direction. Like, the minute that the wind went slack, the wind wanted to fall to that creek. Mm-hmm. And so experiencing that with no cell phone service, and then all of a sudden, when them girls start to blow, it's time to go quick.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to give them an education either. So I think we've had these funny weather patterns that have made it particularly difficult. Just, the inconsistencies. A cold comes through, you're like, finally got a north wind. One day. The next day, it's out of the south.
Yep. And to my point, where I was headed with this is that it's really easy to get in that mode of, almost depression if it hasn't worked out. I guess what I'm getting at. And and I was talking to my wife about this the other day, but because, and this is actually, I think, going to be somewhat alarming to most people. I have not hunted in November this year. I've not hunted a single hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Not once. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm watching cameras and I'm scouting and I'm doing my thing,
right?
Hunting related. But I've not even been in a tree. Right. And the reason why I'm going to say that is on some of the farm. And don't get me wrong. I have a great drop tine deer that I've shot, and that makes my season. As far as that is concerned, that makes my season. So I'm not going to go grind a farm and create human presence and pressure and so on and so forth. If something shows up I want to go hunt, then I'll go hunt it. Mm-hmm. But I will say, and I was just trying to figure out, do the math. Yesterday we were talking about this. I think I started hunting about 10 years old. I think something like that. And I've never missed a November except for my Marine Corps time since then. Ever. Yeah. And it's November 18th, and I've not been in a tree once. Mm-hmm. There's just, so whenever we talk about, it's kind of frustrating or whatever, again, but in an instant, all of that can change. But I was talking to my wife about that, and this is where I'm headed with this. She was like, yeah, okay, true, but she's like, now look at your successes for this year. She's like, I understand that you don't have a deer you want to go hunt and get in a tree stand, and so on and so forth right now. But she's like, look at your and Tim's successes this year. She's like, yeah, you had a couple mishaps, but you had 3 opportunities at Boone and Crockett deer before November. Mm-hmm. She's like, that is a wildly successful season, whether you brought them home or not.
Right.
That's that's a whole different story. But in playing the game, you did great, and then you've been on 2 big ones. So all of that being said, collectively we've had 5 really nice deer in front of us. So whenever we're trying to, not that anybody's measuring success or whatever, but it's been a successful season. Whether we have, however many deer we have in the truck, that's a different game. At the end of the day, we've been in the tree stand or in the blind, and the good Lord has graced us with the presence of some of the most biggest deer. I mean, you filmed, you had some film of a deer. The moment I just said it, goosebumps, because that deer is big.
He's real big.
He is real big.
Yeah, and I don't think we've released that video.
We have not yet.
And that, I know, like, Jake's like, man, dude, that's awesome. It would have been, you could have. I'm like, look, I was killing his ass. I mean, he was looking for a doe. Yeah. And he came into the food, like, I thought he was just going to walk right into the food plot, and then he's like, no thanks. And then he walks away, and I hit him with just a nice soft grunt, burp, to get his attention. And that son of a bitch does what big bucks do. And he's like, well, screw you,
I'll
buddy.
Go past the other stuff.
I can't see through your screening, so let me just walk 15 feet up the side of this hill. And then he sat there and stared at me at 65 yards for 5 minutes just to piss me off, to say, I'm right here, you're right there, and you can't shoot me. To put people in position of what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So we planted beans and corn, and then there's an old fence line right there, with a gap in it. We just kind of utilized that fence and gap, to play out our plan. Well, I wanted to get corn in on that side, and and again, this big hill, we call it Goat Piss Hill because it just smells like my goats in there. Yeah. But in this particular deer's on and off of it all the time. All of that being said, we put this really nice screening up as well as corn, but then we mowed like this little hole in the corn. It's a killer setup. Oh, it is.
But when that particular scenario went down, to let people understand, there was a call. He heard it, and in theory, he probably he wanted to close that distance. Yeah. But in big buck stuff, he thought about it, And he's like, I can climb half of this hill right here, and I can look into that whole thing. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
He got himself elevation so he could see
Took that
past the screening out. Oh, you
Yeah.
smart sucker.
Yeah.
I mean, I could appreciate it. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
That is a big buck
Yeah.
doing big buck stuff.
Oh,
it
and
was
listen,
awesome.
yeah.
It's not awesome, but it was awesome.
If he
Seeing him do the things that he does.
If he had 5 digits, when he got up on that hill, he basically did this to me. Okay? That's what he did. I'm like, I've spent so much time to see this deer on the hoof
Flip you
in
off.
the wild. And he just goes up there like,
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah.
You see me. But I
But-
don't give a shit if you shoot 100 yards. You couldn't have shot that deer with a bow anyway because he was standing in that brush.
Yeah.
And you could just see his head looking right at you. And it's
really good video.
We have it all on camera.
It's really good video.
But I'm sitting in there and
the thing
get another
is,
shot.
and this is where, and the reason, honestly, one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this particular podcast,
Sure.
is this type of season, this type of scenario, and this timing is literally where I just have to be right once came up. This is its inception. You want to know where this came up? That phrase that I say and all that stuff. It is this thing right here.
Yeah.
Because they beat me. It gets frustrated. They beat me. They're supposed to beat me.
Yeah.
He's supposed to beat me, but he has to beat me every single day of this entire season. Yeah. And guess what? I am a Marine, and I am hard-headed, and I am too hard-headed to throw in the towel. I just won't do it.
Yep.
So listen, either I'll run out of season, or I'm going to run an arrow through that deer. And that's what's going to happen with you. And when this is all said and done,
we've been close.
When all is said and done, that deer's going to have your tag on it.
Yeah.
It's going to have your tag on it. I am convinced.
Yeah,
of that.
he's been within 60 to 80 yards twice.
So we're slowly honing in, but it's that long drawn out, hard hunted effort.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: in my opinion, the greatest rewards are spawned from the toughest,
absolutely
situation.
Yes.
Yeah. So, if you went out there first set and smashed him, don't get me wrong, we're gonna party. It's a celebration.
Yeah.
But everybody's going to be happy.
It's mid-November now.
But it's mid-November.
He's like,
now.
you're going to earn it.
And
You want to shoot me? You're going to earn it.
You're going to earn it. But we're learning, and this is where we always talk about too, is with our farms. There's lots of people buying flipping farms. I mean, that's nothing new.
Yes.
It's nothing new at all. But seasoning a farm is a whole different story. And watching things play out the way they played out, we've pulled an audible twice.
Yes.
Because we have seen something. Actually, where we hung the first set, where we thought
we killed every deer.
He's dead right here. Guess what? That is not it. That is not it. But because
we can't even get to it.
You can't get to it because where we have found that this particular deer likes to bed is directly downwind of that spot.
Yes.
And we thought we were high enough, up and all that and whatever. And the moral of the story is it's where this deer has proven that he's wanting to be is not where it's conducive for that stand to work.
Yeah.
So, and to our benefit, we recognized it. And you've been in that stand how many times?
Zero.
Not
once.
Zero.
We hung a stand and we've not sat.
We hung it and we never hunted it. And it was what we thought was the stand initially.
Yeah.
After watching it play out, you're like, oh, you smart suckers. So we have.
I'm thinking opening day of gun season. That's some bitch for me. I'm gonna ride that bike right to that stand because you're right in the middle of everything. And like, if you smell me, run because I got you for a couple hundred yards. But all joking aside, that is a testament to what I say when we have 2 farms that we're developing actively. Yeah. The 154, we actively developed the 74 last year, the 154, and then we had this 86. And the 86 we haven't developed. It's essentially the way God intended it. It was an old cattle farm. There's cattle cut barbed wire. I've destroyed all my sickest stuff. I put up a post to people. I think I got 6 tears in it now. I mean, it's just, it's old barbed wire everywhere you look, on the ground, yeah. Anyway, point being is, I came back last night and I said to Mark, I'm like, the 86 is not going to be ready this year. It just isn't. It's just, there's too much that we're observing, in this particular farm. It has very wide, it's on a river, and it has a very wide banks, I guess you could call it. And for lack of better words, the deer are bedding in the damn ditches.
Yeah.
And they're laying in the sun in the ditch, out of the wind, 30 feet below the land. It's the warmest place they can find. And then, oh, by the way, the sun's just cooking that sand, giving them a nice warm bed. So where we thought we could go,
we can't.
You walk down the ditch, I mean, you're just moving deer.
I like to use river structure,
yeah.
As it's it's one of those things where it provides like this barrier that a traveling deer or whatever doesn't usually want to go up and down over the cross of rivers and all that a bunch of times.
Yep.
So we try to use that oxbow, that cut, as our, hey, that's where it's going to be.
Yeah.
What we found is on this particular farm, they want to bed down in the river. So
I think you said it best. You said there's an entire ecosystem.
There is. Call it 30 feet. 30 feet from ground level to the bottom of the river. And it might be a little more than that, but then it breaks off of it, and it's like there's 30 feet of topsoil there. Like it cut through it, so it's just straight up and down banks, but then there's, where the banks have started falling in and whatever on the sides, then it regrew in grass and benches and everything, and there's beds everywhere. And the deer, so now when you hunt it in the evening, you're like, man, I just don't see any deer, and all of a sudden, boop, 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 they just start popping up out of the river creek there everywhere, and you're like, okay, well, that stand that we thought we could do, we can't do that. All of these does are bedding in the creek that I thought, or river that I thought we were going to throw our
scent
wind in,
Yep.
So it was literally the polar opposite of how we kind of wanted to hunt that particular stand, farm, whatever, so that is where I see the seasoning of the farm, to laying out a plan, designing the plan, and then adjusting according to the way that the deer are telling you how they want to do things, and that is the perfect example as to why, we love to season farm. In the 154, going off of the frustration type thing, there's 2 deer on that farm that was pretty interesting. That's been there since kind of day one, if you will. And even this one right here, this one right here, he's running around there. We talked about this in an earlier episode, and I'm like, gosh, I'd just like to see him. Maybe I'll just go look at him.
27-inch beams. That was last year's.
And then I'm like, God, I even talked to everybody. I'm like, hey, would you go after this deer? Whatever. Yeah. Well, now he's broke this off. Well, first of all, he broke this off. And then he shows up and he's broke this off. Yeah. And then the 6x5, which I got his shed, it's not here, but it's at the house. But he was like a high 40s, right at 150 type 5-point side shed that I picked up last year. Looked like a 4-year-old, but again, we bought that farm this year, so we don't have prior history with that. And we happened to bought it off of an Amish feller, so he didn't have trail cameras, whatever. So there's no history. You're into that really blank. You have no picture history of anything. So we're only going off the sheds. But that shed was a nice shed. And I thought, boy, there's going to be really, he could be a really nice deer. He did bump, but not like a lot. I mean, I would say he was in that right around 150 range, and I think he's right around that 162-3 range now. But here's the thing. Again, it's one of those where you're getting trail cam pictures, and sometimes they don't look as big as they are, or they look bigger than they are, and you just really need to see it with your eyes. Yeah. Well, now he shows up, bam, busted. he's busted up, and you're like, okay, all right. Well, and then there's another one that showed up in late October, whatever, 20th, 23rd range, and 4-year-old, really nice 8-point. Just we actually got a picture of the big 8 standing in the water hole. He's walking. He's the 4-year-old bristled up, walking at him. And the next picture we get of him, he's busted the entire side off. He's busted the G3 off, the rest of the main beam. He looks funky now. He's got a third of a main beam and a G2, and that is all that's left. He's busted everything. Yeah. So those deer on that farm, they have an attitude problem.
Yeah. I think there's a guy in there laying it down. I think there's
we've yet to get a picture of something's busting them up. But moral of the story is that particular farm, a lot of the deer that we're like, maybe they just done bust themselves all up. So I have a feeling that whoever decides to buy that farm is going to get a plethora of shooter class deer next year, because all of them that would maybe even be shooters this year done busted up. So they're off the list, So
well, in closing, as we kind of enter this period, right? Where should we be concentrating our time? Because we talk about sitting all day. Where, and I just want to kind of wrap this up. So where would you tell people to be hunting this phase?
I specifically am in the corridors between bedding. Yeah. That is 100% how I hunt the post-rut phase. Because again, what I'm trying to do is get the highest odds of having him inside bow range. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily want to just see him. I want to see him inside bow range. Well, how do I do that? Well, I know he's going to stick to corridors pretty tight because it's providing him cover as he moves from point A to point B to point C. And typically speaking, right now, as they start rolling off those does and going and looking, he's going to have to run through these pinch points. Mm-hmm. That provides him cover, which benefits you, the hunter. So that, for me,
that's where you would key in.
That's where I'm going to key in at this time of the year, because they're going to get going hardcore. And usually this, on the post-rut side of things, a lot of times you actually get deer that you've not seen all year.
Right.
This
is where the move-in phase, right?
The move-in phase happens. And if you got food, you might move him in and he just stay. So then you've got him late season too.
Yeah.
So right now it is that rut funnel pinch point between two bedding areas, that is money right now. Now, here's again, on your particular farm, if you got a bunch of does in heat right then, it might seem like the Sahara Desert for a while.
Right.
And then you'll hear a snip, a twig snap, and then per a song that you've got, you let the dirt talk.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm just saying that right now, going into what comes next is get in your pinch points, get in your funnels, take your peanut butter jelly sandwiches, and reflect on not the things that hasn't worked. Reflect on all of the successes that maybe this
a matter of time.
It's just a matter of time. Yeah. You just seat time now is your friend.
It's critical.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I thank you for kind of going through that, and I think that's exactly where we're at. We have one farm, the 154 last night. There were does running everywhere. So there was another one, and then we have other farms where there's just nothing. The Ghost of Christmas Past came and just was like, yeah, no pictures for you.
Grim Reapers rolled in and went boop, boop, boop. There's no deer here,
Yeah, nothing to see.
And different. Different. That it's got deer. That it's got potential shooting.
Yep.
They're just bedded down, and we've seen, think about when you see a buck truly with a hot doe, one that is truly in season. A lot of times they won't move 50 yards in several hours. Mm-hmm. They just don't move. Well, if that doe has 5 bucks on your farm on it, and you've got 7 bucks total, and another hot doe has the other 2, if you aren't where those 2 does are, you're going to think that you're hunting in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
100%. The doe's not moving. And neither are the bucks that's with them. And the only way that happens is one of the dominant bucks runs one of the satellites off, but that's probably not the deer you're after.
Right.
So, I'm just saying that be patient and keep keep and honestly, in my opinion, this is one of the times, when that mental fatigue, if you will, goes, that it's the best time in the world to have that hunting buddy that you're talking to, that you're, listen, if we're going to go through, like we talk every day, multiple times, but we've been going through it together,
100%.
I mean, oh my God, can you believe this? I just, and this year, real quickly, this year has been so unique in the side of, we basically didn't have a pre-rut, in my opinion. It just was non-existent. No. You had nothing, and then you had hot dove. So then it was locked. So you went from nothing to lockdown.
Yeah.
And if you wasn't one of the lucky guys that was just happened to be in the right place at the right time on a particular deer, you've been thinking this rut has been terrible. And that's kind of where we collectively are at. We're hoping that on the post-rut side of things, we start seeing what we thought we was going to see on the pre-rut side of things that just hasn't taken place. Funky year, unique, that I've not ever seen before. This, I've dealt with many of lockdown phases, where you got young bucks, a few of them, whatever, walking around. But, that was kind of how it was from the start and really nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, the 30 last year, the split G2 was there every day in October, just walking in daylight, an awesome 4-year-old 100 mid 116 deer, but all day there was deer in and out of there. And now you look at the cameras and you look at from last year, our average day in October was like 37 pictures, and you look this year and it's like 6.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyone that wants to say... Right. Anyone that wants to say, well, it's not really because they shot a deer. Well, just because you shot a deer at the right place at the right time doesn't mean, the cameras don't lie.
Yeah.
And the statistics on these cameras.
And our sample size is big. 7 Iowa farms or 7 total, but I'd have to count. But moral of the story is that and it's spread out because we're all across
Illinois, Kansas,
southern and eastern Iowa, Kansas as well as Illinois, and in all of the cameras and all of the friends that we have in our circle, everybody is singing the same thing.
Yeah.
So if you've had a rough season,
stay strong.
Stay strong. You're not the Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
We will have we should have a post-season crown drinking party or something. Be like, oh my gosh.
We'll have to shoot that podcast in Illinois because I'm going to be smoking. I don't care. There isn't enough crown to make these wounds go away, brother. Sorry. Just call a spade. But...
Oh, man.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, thank you for joining us again today. Again, we can't push this enough. Get on YouTube, subscribe, win a farm. Who wouldn't want to have a whole farm for free? I in my mind, that just don't compute. Yeah. I will check in on every one of those. Anybody else want to give away a farm? I'll be your first subscription.
Exactly.
If it's free.
Free
who doesn't like free stuff? And it's a free, very nice farm, Yes. So get on winafarm.com or Lessons from the Woodlot and the YouTube page, whatever. Smash that like and subscribe and get yourself in to win a farm.
Yeah.
And then, hey, come hang out with us for a little while every week and maybe you learn something and maybe you get a few chuckles. Because, again, I will be the first to bag on myself, and sometimes we're a little bit brutal on our own team, but that it's all in good fun because every single person here wants our other collective person to be wildly successful, and we hope that the deer hunting community gets that way as a whole, and we're going to push our best to get to that direction. So, if you can jump on, join our movement, if you will, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.